The first thing we need to do in the United States is make sure that we're protecting consumer privacy.
They collect your personal information and then resell or share it with others. As one expert puts it, they're the middlemen of surveillance capitalism.
Advertisers want information on your interests so they can sell you things.
Sell them to other companies where we don't really know where that goes. It's some sort of database, sometimes used for ad targeting, other times for some sort of political micro-targeting.
If something is free, you are the product. A sentiment hoping to explain how our data becomes currency. And this is not a secret, apps are spying on you. According to a poll from worldwide privacy experts, an estimated 71% of companies collect data on their consumers. Most Americans feel they've lost control of how their information is being used, with 79% having concerns about data usage. Worldwide, people are weighing in on the conversation, commenting thoughts such as, data is available for sale, anyone's data is up for grabs for the right price, you don't have a choice. But what is actually happening with our data? In a recent survey, 58% of people admitted they do not understand what firms do with the data they collect, and 49% feel unable to protect their data due to a lack of knowledge or time, as well as the complexity of the process involved. So why are companies using our data? What are the risks of information collection? And what should we do about it? Using data to make business decisions is not a new concept. The collection of customer data is actually as old as business itself. It is just how it's being obtained today. Companies have always tracked who bought how much. You need that to send an invoice for tax purposes. The web page interaction statistics are very easy and cheap, if not free, to collect through Google Analytics, Facebook, and the like. And there is no real downside for a company to collect it, says a technology industry analyst. Sites and software such as Google Analytics have made it easier than ever to track consumers, and this information is valuable for a business. Let's quickly discuss a few concepts to explain data uses. First up, the purchase funnel. The purchase funnel describes the relationship between a company and its customer from initial introduction to brand loyalty. The funnel consists of 4 to 5 different levels, depending on your source. Here's an example. You're driving on the highway and pass a clever billboard for a new e-commerce fashion company. You're searching for a new outfit for an event and recognize the same company on your social media feed. You visit their website, which has the newest season of clothing on its front page. They also have a chatbot located at the bottom to help answer any questions with an easy-to-navigate interface. You're not sure about the quality of the clothing, so there are also customer reviews to help you make your decision. You find a few items that you're interested in and see that you can receive 30% off for being a first-time customer with them. You decide to make the purchase. You receive an email a few weeks later letting you know about a holiday sale happening on the site and decide to visit again for new purchases. This example has walked you through every layer of the purchase funnel. Awareness is the introduction, the first time a customer becomes aware of a business. Interest is just that, a customer showing interest in a product or service, in our case, by viewing the advertisement fully as they need a new outfit. Desire is for a particular brand. Our hypothetical person needs clothing, but does not need to shop with our business necessarily. Visiting our website shows the desire for our product specifically. This is the time to answer questions about the business and provide as much information as possible to help the customer with the decision. Action is the decision-making process. Our customers made a decision and we need to ensure they complete it, in this case by offering a discount. Loyalty means a customer returns. Our business does this through a sale, however, there are many ways to gain repeat customers. It can even be as simple as an email reminding them that the business exists. This all seems pretty simple and perhaps not very predatory. However, data can be collected and or used through every step in this process. Let me introduce you to the DIKW pyramid. This won't be hard to remember as the name is an acronym for what the pyramid consists of: data, information, knowledge, and wisdom. Data is simply information. The vast majority of data collected is unorganized or unstructured. It doesn't provide much meaning to a business as is. Examples of unstructured data include videos, emails, images, and HTML content. This kind of data makes up between 80 and 90% of all data generated globally, but it's considered less valuable than structured data as it's more difficult to handle and extract insights from. The act of structuring data leads us to information. Let's use our e-commerce site again. The brand has a robust data-driven business structure that collects and examines information from various sources. However, it is probably not of much use to consider tweets from a targeted age group or photos from the social media of individuals who live near the billboard. Having a lot of data is not always useful. In fact, it can make analyzing the data more difficult. Our site needs to decide what data they need and organize it within the business context. For instance, the brand can collect data on their orders, the date of purchase, what coupons or sales are applied, names associated with the account, the age of buyers, who were in the rewards program, etc. This stage aims to answer who did what, where, and when. Now our data is organized with our business in mind, and we can move on to the next step, knowledge. Here we are trying to uncover trends in our data to answer how and why. Let's say our business wants to know what their targeted age group in North America is, and what items they are most likely to purchase. I made a data frame of some fake orders here, ran that through some simple code, made some beautiful charts, and found the answer. Our e-commerce site has most of its North American orders from female customers aged 25 to 35, who are historically most likely to buy shoes. From here, we move to the last stage, which is wisdom. Our billboard is strategically placed in a densely populated area with many young adults, and of course, with shoes being the focus of the advertisement. Wisdom takes the information from the before stages to make educated business decisions. You can see how data can be very valuable to a business. Marketing is not cheap. Don't waste my money. But advertising isn't the only benefit, of course. Businesses can create an industry standard, turn know-how into a product, minimize waste, optimize resources, enhance efficiency, and more. Here's the real kicker. You probably wouldn't want products that don't use your data. McKinsey reports more than 70% of consumers expect companies to deliver personalized interactions. 76% get frustrated when this doesn't happen. These facts can be summarized by a quote given by an IT director. Data provides a huge competitive advantage. Personalization works as a marketing strategy. Customers like it, but it requires data. Furthermore, Statista found that 58% of users would allow data sharing to keep their online experience free of charge. This was reiterated by an article published in the Journal of Retail stating, "In our interviews, the executive informants noticed how big data analytics facilitate rich customer connections and retailer advantages. The resulting value often is sufficient, such that customers willingly disclose information to obtain it. Imagine a version of Netflix without a top picks column or a because you watched column. Imagine an ad for new snowshoes and you live in Hawaii. Imagine your TikTok without an algorithm. We want the benefits of data collection without having our data collected. So what exactly are we afraid of? The fact is, there are some good reasons that consumers don't trust their data in corporation hands. That has become somewhat of a controversial topic. Those who strongly distrust the government or major companies on one side, and those who don't want to be grouped with the aforementioned. From government spying to I have nothing to hide, many people feel strongly about their data and how it's used. A study from TrustArc found 92% of Americans are concerned about their privacy when using the internet. But this isn't about radical takes. There are real-world issues concerning data collection. Let's start with data safety. Whenever you enter your personal information to a website, bank account, health portal, etc., the company is responsible for the protection of that sensitive information. According to Idokay, manufacturing, finance and insurance, energy, retail, and healthcare are most commonly affected by cyber attacks. University of Maryland explains that a hacking attempt occurs every 39 seconds, though most of these instances are attacks on your personal computer. There have been a number of well-known data breaches, such as Yahoo's 2013 data breach. Hackers gained access to users' names, emails, phone numbers, passwords, and more, with this article stating, not only was Yahoo slow to react, but the company also failed to disclose a 2014 incident to users, which resulted in a $35 million fine and, in total, 41 class action lawsuits. Another was the Facebook Cambridge Analytica scandal, where Facebook users were offered pay to take a personality test. They agreed to have their data collected for academic use. However, the app also collected the information on the test takers' Facebook friends, leading to the accumulation of a data pool tens of millions strong. This wasn't actually allowed on Facebook, but the company did nothing to correct or provide consequences for the data harvesting. The story gets a little crazy and involves Donald Trump, Russians, whistleblowers, and legal battles. We won't break this down in its entirety. But here's a quote from the data protection specialist who spearheaded the investigation against the social network, Paul Oliver DeHay. Facebook has denied this. It has misled MPs and congressional investigators, and it's failed in its duties to respect the law. It has a legal obligation to inform regulators and individuals about this data breach, and it hasn't. It's failed time and time again to be open and transparent. And of course, we can't forget about Ashley Madison.
The hackers demanded that Avid Life Media shut down its sites right away and for good, or they'd release customer records, profiles with all the customers' secret sexual fantasies, credit card transactions, real names, and company emails.
I'm only highlighting 3 highly publicized instances of data information leaks, but the list is lengthy. Not to mention, companies don't always disclose data breaches, which is especially terrifying considering how often they occur. Conaway Institute estimates 53% of companies have experienced a data breach related to third parties in the past year as of September 2024. On top of the issues surrounding the protection of our information from hacks, we should also mention the people in charge of protecting our data. 54% of companies say their IT departments are not sophisticated enough to handle advanced cyber attacks. 70% of cybersecurity professionals reported that their organizations are understaffed, which has hampered multiple functional and operational elements of cybersecurity. Companies with 500 to 1,499 employees ignore or don't investigate 27% of all alerts. It seems we've put a lot of trust, our personal information, in the hands of individuals who are understaffed, overworked, and not supported in investigations. Let's take an extra look at this statistic. 500 to 1,499 employees are considered medium-sized companies. Co-founder and CEO of Rubrik, Bipul Sinha, says this platform switch in AI is a productivity switch. And when you think about productivity switch, obviously it favors larger organizations because they have a lot more angles to optimize on the productivity. He's discussing artificial intelligence and how it needs customer data to train. Big companies with more data available will reap the benefits of AI faster and more accurately than small corporations. This sentiment is echoed in terms of privacy by Quach et al., who states, firms that aspire to address privacy tensions proactively must devote resources and create processes for updating their digital technologies, which is a particular challenge for small firms. This creates an issue in relation to competition, but it also brings forth another issue with data collection: speed. Technology is advancing at an exponential rate. Take a look at this chart. It's attempting to conceptualize the speed of technology adoption for 25% of the market. The telephone took 50 years to get into homes, the internet took 7 years, and Pokemon Go took all of 19 days to take over the world. Remember, the first iPhone came out just 17 years ago at the time of publishing this video, and it looked like this. It also had no Bluetooth, only 8 gigabytes of data storage, no Touch ID, no Face ID, low battery life, and photos from the phone looked like this. Here's a photo taken with the iPhone 16, courtesy of Reddit user KnownFilm2164. Technology is advancing, and those tasked with protecting the data needed for the advancements can't keep up. A data protection specialist explains, things are advancing so rapidly that there is no time to have an ethical debate. There is a monumental shift in the ways we are being monitored and surveilled, and there is a worry that we don't have enough time to carefully create the world we want to live in. None of the frameworks we have on any front are designed to accommodate this. Corporations need our data, but there are real problems that arise without protection. This is where the government comes in. To be clear, there are a myriad of policy additions intended to address the problems that occur with our new data-driven economy. Here's a look at the states in the US alone with comprehensive laws attempting to address data privacy. Here are the states with less stringent laws, but with laws still enacted. We also have Europe's highly publicized General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR. China has the Personal Information Protection Law, as well as the Data Security Law. Brazil has the General Data Protection Law, Nigeria's Data Protection Act, Australia's Privacy Act, Singapore's Personal Data Protection Act, and the list goes on. If you aren't aware, many US companies already tell you how they use your data. In some states, this is even mandated. This includes, of course, the dreaded Allow Cookies button. Or you can go in an in-depth search to find the page on their website that gives more detail. Hold on, this seems like a lot. Greg Krabill would agree. He explains that nobody believes the accept cookies regime is reasonable or consumer-friendly, and just because it's technically possible to do something doesn't mean you're giving consumers a legitimate choice. It's not difficult to find what data companies are collecting from you, but it is made difficult to care. Who wants to read an academic essay worth of legal jargon before they watch a funny video? Let's take a look at TikTok's data collection disclosure page. The first thing you'll notice is that it's dense. Now let's be as fair as possible, this may be for good reason. Here are some of the things that TikTok collects on you. Name, age, username, password, language, email, phone number, social media account information, profile image, public profile information from third-party services like Instagram, your IP address, user agent, mobile carrier, time zone settings, your approximate location, pages you view most often, and how you interact with content. And this isn't even all of them. As we discussed in the first part of this essay, this information can be used to better your user experience and provide insight to advertisers, not necessarily nefarious in nature. However, looking at the data collected in simplified modes can seem very predatory. Imagine signing up for a new app and receiving a list of your personal data that will be taken. I imagine this would deter quite a few users. In fact, 81% of users say the potential risk they face from companies collecting data outweighs the benefits, and 48% have stopped shopping with the company because of privacy concerns. Okay, so let's get back to the government. An incredible article by Thorin Klazowski to the New York Times. It's a great read if you have a few minutes, but I'll summarize its major points quickly for you now. The US has many state and federal laws that usually tackle a single topic, such as health data protection or data protection for minors. The United States doesn't have a singular law that covers the privacy of all types of data. Instead, it's a mix of laws that go by acronyms like HIPAA, FERPA, GLBA, ECPA, and so on. Because there isn't a federal law in place, companies can still use your data without regulation. Klosowski argues 4 areas that deserve basic data protection, according to experts: data collection and sharing rights, opt-in consent, data minimization, non-discrimination, and no data use discrimination. These protections are not being enforced, especially in the form of civil suits. California is the only state that allows private right of action, a policy addition that has been fought by lobbyists tooth and nail in states proposing data privacy laws. An article published by the Journal of the Academy of Marketing Science explains, digital technologies have evolved significantly, smoothing processes that allow firms to monetize and share customer data while simultaneously adding complexity to consumer-side privacy prevention. In other words, technology is advancing quickly and becoming exceedingly complex, making it difficult for policy to holistically address the possible issues with privacy. Currently, government intervention is lagging in most places in the world, but how about corporate intervention? Apple added an Ask App Not to Track feature with the recent update. This was met with pushback from major players, most notably Facebook. Here's how the Ask App Not to Track feature works, courtesy of Brian Chen. Let's say you use a shopping app to browse for a blender. You look at a blender from brand X, then close the app. Later, ads for that blender start showing up in other mobile apps like Facebook and Instagram. Here's what's happened. The shopping app hired an ad tech company that embedded trackers inside the app. Those trackers looked at information on your device to pinpoint you. When you opened other apps working with the same ad tech firm, those apps were able to identify you and serve you ads for brand X's blender. Apple hinders this process by hiding your device's numerical identifier and lets the ad tech company know you do not wish to be tracked. It's an honorable addition from the Silicon Valley Corporation, but it's not foolproof. Chen goes on to explain the several ways ad tech companies work around this feature, such as fingerprinting, identifying your device from attributes such as model, browser, screen resolution, and more. Apple isn't able to predict the possible ways advertisers will work around their new feature, but the feature has made it more difficult to receive data on you. Here's a chart showing the number of data compromises over time. We can see that instances of compromises have increased. But take a look at this line. It's the amount of people impacted in millions. While data breaches are increasing, we may just be getting better at limiting the fallout. According to National University, 93% of organizations plan to increase their cybersecurity spending in the next year. Termly states 91.1% of businesses are willing to prioritize data privacy if they knew it would increase customer trust and loyalty. UN Trade and Development shared that 80% of countries worldwide have privacy legislation enacted or drafted. We spent the last 2 parts of this video, discussing data issues and policy shortcomings, but let's remember that 70% of users expect a personalized experience online. That experience is created with data. I'm not here to sway opinion from one side to the other. Instead, my goal was to explain the real benefits and pitfalls of data collection. That being said, there is a new argument I'd like to add to this discussion, a way to address consumer fears along with business needs. Lucky for us, data professionals and academics have been arguing for this exact shift. 94.1% of businesses believe there can be a balance between data collection and respect for consumer privacy. Consumers should feel they have control of their information, but it isn't made clear where their information is going and for what purpose, and why it's necessary for the business. A journal article states, research thus might investigate consumers' perceptions of firms' data strategy, actual data privacy actions, and regulation stringency, which could help construct long-term, technology-proof outcomes for all parties involved. Informants believe most consumers are willing to accept some loss of privacy in exchange for personalization of the right experience. A critical question is how to identify consumer segments and make data trade-offs more acceptable for them. An article published in the Journal of Service Research established an ideal model which integrates artificial intelligence and human intelligence to address issues of fairness, data limits, transparency, control, consent, and recourse. The goal of this model is to maximize empathy, speed, and human intuition while minimizing errors and memory limitations. And while regulation is struggling to keep up, the addition of policy regarding consumer data privacy isn't necessarily a handicap for a business. Martin et al. Explains the ramification of regulations for retailers continue to emerge, but we provide important preliminary evidence that they can be a pathway towards smoother, more confident consumer data interactions. Global companies need consistent, coherent approaches to data privacy, despite cross-national regulatory differences, especially for achieving data minimization and collecting only the information needed to execute basic transactions. So what does this all look like? I'm certainly not an expert, but a good start would be simplifying the search for a company's data usage and language used to describe it. When 62% of Americans believe it's impossible to not have data collected on them, let them know where their data is going and for what purpose. Be honest about the data breaches and what's been implemented to prevent further breaches. For example, after the Facebook Cambridge Analytica scandal, trust in the social network dropped 66%. There are caveats. Most people who use Facebook had no idea that their data was being used to begin with. Furthermore, they only discovered the breach when it was reported. While trust in Facebook may have plunged, it's unlikely they'll see a large exodus of users. Facebook allows the connection of billions of people, and this quote-unquote power has allowed them to skirt real consequence. Facebook users allowed the site to ignore the privacy issue, a correction which wouldn't have taken much change from the company at all. Nuala O'Connor, president and CEO of the Center for Democracy and Technology, explains that the correct response after the breach would be to simply change privacy settings and be more transparent. The internet got its footing as the always free pastime for all, but there is nothing in this world that is truly free. Companies use our data for both financial benefit as well as to benefit our own user experience. With technology moving faster than ever, it's hard to ensure that there is still individual consideration and empathy. Does that mean it's impossible? Certainly not. But it will take honesty, transparency, and understanding from both sides of the fence. With the AI revolution happening as we speak, now is the time, more than ever, for businesses to address consumer concerns, government agencies to keep up to date, and consumers to continue using their voice to advocate for change.